Pops here at Legal Reform on Facebook. The reason I started Legal Reform is to show you the only legal reform you need is a whole lot of stuff I'm posting here. I just posted a video about a gentleman in Utah that was being denied his right to due process, and how. Uh, Informed consent would require, before anything can proceed in the court of law, the plaintiff must have the lawyers must have informed consent from the plaintiff. Informed consent would be having reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision, and that reasonable knowledge would be knowing the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct exist. These are the laws within a court of law. All right, and these different pages that I've been posting on is because I seen people asking for legal help. There's on there giving them disinformation. Okay, disinformation is a type of misinformation that is intentionally false and intended to deceive or mislead. All right, so I'm giving you a whole lot of information that they're supposed to give you, but they're not. Now, in this video, there's a kid in there where the public defender, they start the court early because this kid didn't want to accept their plea deal. He wanted a jury trial, etc., etc., etc. He wanted information and fairness to the opposing party, which is him, opposing party and counsel. All this information is supposed to go through him. Court transcripts, police reports, dash cam, body cam. Okay, so whatever is supposed to be presented in court is supposed to be given to him, but it's not. And he hasn't been told about the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, which are the laws within the court of law. And everybody, that information is being withheld from you. So I used to argue with some lawyers giving disinformation in the comments, and they started saying, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, I can do this, I can do that, and I'm a lawyer and I know. And I've actually gone to courts and helped people out: divorce court, criminal court, civil court, child custody. And all these rules and codes must apply no matter what court of law you're in. So I've been posting all this information, and as if you noticed, not one of my posts have been shut down, canceled, no flags, no, what's that Facebook? Fact checkers. Never got fact checked because I use all legal websites, and I'm giving you every bit of information you need. So no more lawyers are arguing with me. No more commenting, and they're staying off your page. Okay, so I put here, failure to comply with the code of judicial conduct and the rules of professional conduct is a massive denial of due process. Qualified immunity does not apply when knowingly and willingly denying you your right to due process. And if you watch the video, this one right here to the end, you'll see exactly what happened, how it happened, and how it shouldn't happen. Now the kid's suing them, and they got it in the appellate court. In no way in hell is the appellate court going to tell him, hey, your lawyer was supposed to do this, your judge was supposed to do that, the state's attorney was supposed to do this. And they're supposed to report him. The judge is supposed to be removed from the bench. The lawyers are supposed to be disbarred. But see, if they do that, then the walls come tumbling down on all of them. So if you go into court and start citing the rules and codes, they will. I've seen it done before. I've done it a couple times where they vacate the courtroom and throw out the case. So I was telling, I put here about domestic terrorism, and this is domestic terrorism because it's happening to anybody and everybody that appears in the court of law. You might want to read up on that. Qualified immunity. It says in the United States, qualified immunity is a legal principle that grants government officials performing discretionary optional functions immunity from civil suits unless plaintiff shows that the official violated clearly established statutory or constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. It is a form of sovereign immunity, less strict than absolute immunity, and it is intended to protect officials who make reasonable but mistaken judgments about open legal questions, extending to all officials but plainly incompetent and those who knowingly violate the law. Now remember, I said the Code of Judicial Conduct and the Rules of Professional Conduct are the laws within a court. So they knowingly and willingly violated your right to due process as prescribed through the Code of Judicial Conduct and the Rules of Professional Conduct. So qualified immunity applies only to government officials in civil litigation and does not protect the government itself from suits arising from official actions. The U.S. Supreme Court first introduced qualified immunity doctrine in Pearson versus Ray, 1967, a case litigated during the height of the civil rights movement. It is stated to have been originally introduced with the rationale of protecting law enforcement officials from frivolous lawsuits and financial liability in cases where they act in good faith in unclear legal situations. So that disqualifies them from qualified immunity if they knowingly and willingly violate the Code of Judicial Conduct and the Rules of Professional Conduct. And they always do. No judge abides by the Code of Judicial Conduct, and none of the lawyers abide by the rules of professional conduct. Whatever state you're in, just Google that, and it'll come up. And you'll see for yourself. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to believe you. I want you open up your eyes. You'll open up your mind. You'll see what you'll see. You'll know what you know. And remember, letter of the law is a mandate in court, so they can't tell you what it means to them. Letter of the law says whatever's written must be done. All right, so don't let them try to explain their way out of that. Letter of the law requires that they do it word for word, to the letter. That was for me. It's okay. Right here, legal ethics. Lawyers counseling clients must obtain the client's informed consent prior to undertaking an action for them. Okay, this is by the American Bar Association. So you might want to get familiar with that. I put about their oaths. Everybody takes note, whether it be a senator, a state rep, a governor, president, lawyers, judges, cops, in the military, anybody in the military. They all take the same oath that they will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. This is a lot. This is domestic terrorism. So they should, but nobody's abiding by their oath. So not only can you use the rules and the codes against them, you can use the Constitution, due process, and the 5th or 14th Amendment. You could also use their oath against them. I'm just feeding you a lot of information you can use against them. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not. I know they don't do this. I'm getting a lot of remarks about they're liars, they're cheaters, they don't do this, they don't do that. I know that. And I'm showing you what to do about it. So either you can talk about it or do something about it. All right? And all I'm trying to do is encourage you to do something about it. Oath of office. See, it says right here. Your oath is unconditional. Further, no lawyer's oath administered in the United States contains any conditional language. No lawyer swears to support the U.S. Constitution so long as it comports to their personally desired outcome or what's in their client's best interest. Remember, whatever they do must be in your best interest. And it doesn't matter which side those lawyers are on, if they're on your side or the other side. If you check the preamble will tell you that no lawyer can violate rule of law. No law can be written that violates the interest, the public interest, and it must maintain the public trust. So it's every law, no law can be written that isn't for the greater good. And you know there's a lot of laws that have been written that tend to the few and not the many. So it's the burden of our privilege. Okay. This is from the American Bar Association, okay? I didn't write this stuff. I'm just showing it to you. See, it says here, federal employees, representatives, state senators, judges, political appointees, president, vice president of the United States take an oath of office. And it's all to defend the Constitution. I was here, good morning, excuse the absence. Once again, I hurt myself, which I did again. And I broke another tooth and had a fat mouth, so I couldn't speak clearly. I was in a lot of pain. I was doing a lot of cussing, and I don't like to do that. So I had to wait till everything calmed down. I'm going to get back to California. I know a lot of people in California, so I want to help them out. I want to help everybody out in every state. So I'm showing you all this. I built this or did this page, legal reform, so you'll know what to do. Okay, the only change that's going to happen is the change that you make for yourself. No lawyer, no judge, no politician is going to help you. I'm trying to help you, and the way I'm trying to help you is to see what's in my head. I read about this stuff a long time ago. I'm an old guy. I'm somebody's grandpa. All right. And I swear to God, if there ever came the opportunity to where I can help more people, that I would. And I've been helping as many people as I could. And I did it locally. I've been to several different states trying to help people. And now I'm old, handicapped, living off SSDI, and I'm broke. But regardless of what my situation, I have the need to help you out in yours. And in every part I remind you, remember who you are, we the people. They are there to serve you. Make them remember who you are, we the people. That's who you are. That's your strength. Many times I've gone in court, and a few times lawyers got mad at me. Who do you think you are? And I tell them, we the people. And they know exactly what I'm talking about when I start there, because it's talking about the Constitution. The Constitution was written to protect us from them, not them from us. That's why they came up with qualified immunities. See, but now they extend it all across the board to where you can't do nothing to them. But if you read what I put up here, and that's the law, qualified immunities aren't a blanket. No, it doesn't cover everything. When any one of them that takes an oath violates that oath, qualified immunity no longer exists. Okay, so you're going to have to go through a lot of this stuff and watch the videos all the way through. They explain everything. This little lady they took oath with their fingers crossed behind their backs. They're all corrupt liars. I know that. That's why I did this, to give you all kinds of information that you can use against them. And I will continue to do so because we still have much to discuss. I am not done yet. The only thing that's slowing me down is I keep getting hurt. I'm handicapped, and I don't live in a handicap-friendly apartment. So I talk about the oath everybody takes. Quick and speedy trial. You're guaranteed that. And if you read the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, diligence is a dominant factor in how a case is to proceed. They're supposed to do it quick, fast, in a hurry. All right. So not only does it mention that in the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, but there's also been a law written, and I left it here for you. Just give it a peek. All right. Okay. I did this one for Illinois with the Judicial Inquiry Board. It's a whole lot of copy and paste. What's down here? See over here, it says, someone questioned me why they can't get a lawyer to file for them for violations of the code of judicial conduct or the rules of professional conduct. In doing so, they would expose themselves and have to report themselves for violations of the oath they took as prescribed through the rules of professional conduct. The rules of professional conduct, reporting misconduct is mandatory, as well as the code of judicial conduct. I ask you, why would they? I ask you, why would they take their own job? Waiting for them to save you from them isn't going to happen. Save yourself and be the hero in your own story. In your in your own story, in your struggle to be free. Visit Legal Reform on Facebook to help you find your way. There's a lot of stuff I can't put any of this in one post. There's no way I can do it. This guy, I didn't know at the time I could complain about anyone involved in this: hospital workers, judges, social workers, and attorneys. You can also use it against doctors too. You know, the oath they took, do no harm, the Hippocratic oath. Doctors do that a lot. They violate their oath. Okay. I gave you a historical review of rule of law. Rule of law is, simply put, nobody above the law. And they put themselves above the law. They think themselves gods amongst men and women. Untrue. So if you just go over this and you'll see that rule of law, I discussed the Magna Carta, which started long before our country existed. All right. And that's what gave us the Constitution. That's the main principle of the Constitution. Nobody above the law. And everybody that works in the legal system, for the legal system, consider themselves above the law. So you use rule of law, it's a simple term, nobody above the law, and then apply letter of the law, meaning nobody can tell you anything different. It is what it is. It says what it says. Letter of the law says it must be, whatever is written must be adhered to, letter for letter, word for word. You don't need a definition for it from anybody else because it's right there in what it says. Nobody above the law. And you could use, I'm just showing you everything you could use. This is a good video. You should watch this one. Uh, okay. Uh, Here I'm telling you, claim your right to due process. Just a copy and paste. I was teaching myself to type, and before my hands got really bad, I finally got them both fixed, both hands, carpal tunnel. I couldn't turn a little screwdriver to fix a speaker on my computer. Okay, here, I'm doing this for you, all of you. I started doing this at a young age, got left for dead. Thank God I'm still alive, and I promised myself, I can't stop me till you drop me. Talk, not you, them. You know, I want you to tell your story. Your story is the key that can unlock someone else's prison. Remember, when you use the Code of Judicial Conduct or the rules professional conduct. You walk into that court and you tell that judge, cite this guy or woman for ineffective assistance of counsel. Ineffective assistance of counsel is not only ineffective, it's defective and destructive. That's your job. Do your job. Cite this person for ineffective assistance of counsel. Reporting misconduct is mandatory in the Code of Judicial Conduct as well as the rules of professional conduct. And failure to do so leaves you in contempt of the very court you preside over. So you must recuse yourself, but before you recuse yourself, report them for not reporting you. Report them for for multiple counts of misconduct. They're supposed to report you. You're supposed to report them. Everybody's supposed to report each other because nobody's abiding by the Code of Judicial Conduct or the rules of professional conduct, which is a blatant violation of my right to due process. When you knowingly and willingly disobey or ignore the codes and the rules, qualified immunity doesn't apply. And I put here, what I discuss is due process is a double-edged sword. All right, file with the Judicial Inquiry Board, cite the judge for failure to comply with Canon 3 reporting misconduct. Failure to comply with Canon 3 is a failure to comply with Canon 1 and 2. Canon 3B, administrative responsibilities. B3, a judge having knowledge of violation. These canons are part of a judge or violation of Rule 8.4 of the Rules of Professional Conduct, which is misconduct, or on the part of lawyers shall take, and here it goes. It gets a little lengthy. Okay, so I just put the numbers for the rules there that they don't abide by. So it gets a little lengthy, but it's not near as lengthy or as intricate as the ones I've written out and sent the complaints in on. And all I did was plagiarize in this Code of Judicial Conduct, the Rules of Professional Conduct, the Constitution, and some historical figures that died for the same reason, trying to establish rule of law. That's why I put this. I came here where freedom is being defended, to serve it and to live and die for it. Okay. Oh, don't forget, if you need anything from the court, file a waiver of fees. That way you don't have to pay anything, for any paperwork, or if you have to file an appearance for court, file a waiver of fees, or now they call it fee waivers. Years ago, when I first started doing it, it was called a motion of papyrus, and then an indigent statement, and then it went to waiver of fees. Now it's fee waivers. Okay, so just look up fee waiver, and when you walk into the clerk's office, you want something, just tell them you want a fee waiver, for transcripts, whatever. And when you ask for discovery, those mongoloids will ask you what part, what day. Discovery is the entire file. Make it clear to them. You don't want a portion of it. You want it in its entirety. The transcripts, hospital reports, police reports, dash cam, body cam, whatever was supposed to be used in court. Okay, I talked about arbitration, mediation. Over here, success is built on failure and the need to succeed. Failure is not an option. The only failure is to quit trying, keep trying. I've been at it 40 years. Okay, something tells me this is going to be the year where everything cuts loose, where rule of law in a nation of laws, rule of law is dominant. And so far, nobody in the legal system has ever enforced that law. They'll enforce so many laws against you, any of you that aren't in the legal system, that aren't public servants. But they hold themselves above it. I'm showing you a lot of things to even it out. Scales of justice are on a monetary scale. We are here to stop that. All right. So I'm here to stop you from a life of indentured servitude. That's what you are now. Stone throw from a serf and not too far from being a slave. And that needs to stop. Remember who you are. We the people. The Constitution was written to serve you. It was to protect you from a tyrannical government and not them from you. And here's a story about the Magna Carta. You should look that up. It's on YouTube. I read about it, and I've been starting to go on YouTube some to find, and it's there. There's actually videos, people reading about it, discussing with you about it. Magna Carta and the Constitution. The Magna Carta was started by it was called the Baron Wars, where King George put out all these laws, but he didn't have to obey them. They didn't account for him, just the barons and their underlings. So the barons said, hey, that wasn't right. That's why they came up with taxation without representation. They came up with rule of law to take away qualified immunity from the king. So Magna Carta is the original no justice, no peace. And Magna Carta is actually a legal term as well. Nobody above the law. It's rule of law. Okay, here I go explaining it again. Explain to you about the RICO Act. It was aimed at the mafia over so many years ago, but it came down to where street gangs, gang cartels, corrupt police departments, and even politicians. And the only one that has plausible deniability as far as politicians go are the ones that aren't lawyers, but still politicians will use those lawyers to break the law. And in doing so, I mean, it's happening to everybody, and no matter what court of law you go in, whether it be for you, your kids, so on and so forth, whether it's child custody, housing court, eviction court, uh, they hold themselves above the law. And to them, you're your weight. You are worth your weight in gold. And if you don't have that gold, you've been sold into indentured servitude, paying debt to them for the rest of your life. You're nothing but a cash cow. Okay, I put here about prison reform, and although prisoners do not have full constitutional rights, they are protected by the Eighth Amendment prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. Regardless, prisoners retain some constitutional rights, such as due process and the right to administrative appeals and the right to access to the parole process. Okay, everybody that's going to court, when you kick down the doors in there, it's going to help a lot of these people get out. Because when you cite the judge for violations of the code of judicial conduct and the lawyers for the violations of the rules of professional conduct, you also make inquiries as to whether you were the only one, and you know you weren't the only one. So they're going to have to investigate every case that judge ever presided over and any case those lawyers attended to. So if they violated your right to due process, they violated everybody else's. That's the only reason I only was against execution. How do we know who's actually guilty and who's actually innocent? If nobody plays by the rules or the codes, it's a game they're playing with you. When I was a kid, my dad told me I used to play Monopoly against my older siblings, and they always cheated, always changing the rules. Well, Pappy said, son, before you play the game, you got to learn the rules. You may not always win, but you won't always lose. Learn the rules. Nobody ever played Monopoly with me after a while. Okay, those that take an oath are public servants. You read the oath they took. They are there to serve you. They are there to, says here, those that take the oath are public servants and there to serve the public interest to maintain the public trust. I stole that out of the preamble from the rule of professional conduct. To serve the public interest to maintain the public trust. That's part of, I didn't write that. I just copied and pasted, put it right there, okay? Okay, over here, when the 14th Amendment passed in 1886, it was intended to give former slaves equal protection and voting rights under the law. That voter suppression, that's a violation of the 14th Amendment. And right now, you got the politicians not really doing anything about it. They could use that to stop voter suppression. So all they're doing is it's a good cop, bad cop thing going on there. Any lawyer can tell you. So there's a lot of politicians that are lawyers, and the ones that aren't may not have studied the Constitution. A lot of people don't. I read it when I was in 5th grade. I was just the type they had to know everything, especially what this due process was. By the time I was in 5th grade, I knew I needed a lawyer. By the time before I started high school, I knew I needed to be one. Just to have a life so nobody can deny me a life with my liberties, my pursuit of happiness. Okay, malicious prosecution, a thing in every court. Learn what it is and how to stop it by stop by legal reform on Facebook for more. No matter what you're going through in court, you not knowing the rules of professional conduct or the code of judicial conduct, and the judges and the lawyers not applying them in a court of law is malicious prosecution. Okay, these are other terms you might want to get familiar with. Preferential treatment. So what is another word for preferential treatment? Unfair treatment, bias, nepotism, prejudice, preference, one-sidedness, jobs for boys, unfairness, inclination, discrimination. Talk over here about what a Karen needs. You know, now that you got tech, you know, video cameras, body cams, uh, you can actually get a body cam for yourself pretty cheap. They got glasses. I got a pair of glasses. That has a camera built in. I just press a button and it records whatever I'm looking at, sight and sound. All right, they got little ones you can clip on your collar for $20. Just take a look at that. Body cams on the internet. So many different kinds, and they're pretty cheap. Me talking to some lawyers on the phone, and they didn't want to talk to me because I was recording the conversation, citing the rules of professional conduct, code of judicial conduct, and they were telling me I owe them some money from 2010, which by far surpassed the statute of limitations on debt collection, which is only 5 years. So this is me a video trying to get them to talk to me, trying to get them to fess up. Put about plausible deniability, who can have it, who can't. Uh, I was telling you once while helping people in criminal court, a bunch of lawyers complained to the judge about my antics. I had copies of code of judicial conduct, rules of professional conduct, was going over it with their clients. The judge had me escorted out of the building, so on and so forth. I've been doing this a long time. Thanks to the internet, I'm old, I'm crippled, I can't get to the courts anymore. So I'm using the internet. I had to buy a computer and figure out how to use it in order to do it. All this other stuff was in my head. I just had to know how to find it, and I figured it out. Let's talk about evictions. So if you're in eviction court, you want to go over that one. Talked about the Magna Carta again, the right to justice and the right to a fair trial. How are you getting a fair trial if you don't know that it's required for your lawyer to get informed consent? Informed consent requires reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision. And to do that, you have to know what the code of judicial conduct is and the rules of professional conduct and what you can do to the judge or lawyers for not abiding by them, which is your right to due process. I explain letter of the law, qualified immunity versus rule of law. Like oil and water, they don't mix. Qualified immunity violates rule of law. If you read the Magna Carta, study it, you'll understand. Qualified immunity violates rule of law. Rule of law is the law of the land. It's dominant in making any law. They can't make laws to put them above us. Remember, we the people are the rightful master of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. And I'm telling you, everybody that takes an oath perverts the Constitution. Remember about a probable cause hearing. If you're in criminal court, that's the first thing you want. Probable cause hearing. Something rarely offered, but should be first in every case. No probable cause for arrest. You get out the same day. Special rules of prosecutor. I'll mention it's legal harassment to bypass any court procedure, etc., etc. Okay. Oh yeah, being arrested without probable cause is legal harassment. Just ask any attorney. You can't get arrested just because you flipped off a cop. Multiple punishments. That's double jeopardy clause. Okay, this is already like 37 minutes. I'm gonna shut this one down. All right, but I just want to let you know why I started legal reform. So stop on by, take a look at everything I'm talking about. It's there for you. All you got to do is look, open your eyes. When you open your eyes, you open your mind. You know, your brain is like a supercomputer. It can hold more information than you'll ever know. Because you know what? You'll never know enough. You'll never be able to fill your head with the info. Uh, you'll never reach the peak of filling your brain with whatever you want. You can learn anything. You just need the desire. All right, this is Bob said. Legal reform. A little tired. Need to get some rest. I'll be back later, okay? Legal reform on Facebook. Pop signing off.